and I think I worked out finally. Technical difficulties. My apologies for that. Was going through the pre-race interjections, and then that kind of went away from me. Was trying to have a hard time figuring out this audio, but we have got it resolved just in time for the gridding here for this race here from Watkins Glen. So, for all of those that were waiting patiently for me to join you, everybody here tonight, my name is Francisco Bacaya, getting ready to bring you the action from Watkins Glen in Droppin Hammah Cup Series playoff round one finale from Watkins Glen. We have many playoff situations going on, guys trying to point their way in, get into the round of 12, going into Texas next week, and numerous others that are just trying to continue their run of form. Some are in a must win situation, and it all comes to here tonight. We have a tie on the playoff cut line consisting of the 8 of Kip Easley and the 48 of Alex Muscarella. Those two are going to be some of the ones to watch in the points battle to try and make it in to the next round. So we'll keep an eye on all of those and how their race goes throughout tonight's event. So as our field here of about 18 or 19 or so cars begin to grid and are starting to head off into the turn one to begin our pace lap, let's go over our starting grid here for tonight's showdown.
23, you have an EOL for missing the driver's meeting.
And on pole will be Steven Stempian. He guessed a pole with a 110.396, and alongside him is Ross Harlow in the number 16 machine. Going back to the next row of the grid, you have the 45 of Cedric Hunter and Warren Kyle Keith that takes over the fourth place position. Cedric Hunter, of course, last week's race winner over at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. He's guaranteed a spot in the next round. Stephen Harlow, after a couple of bad runs, is looking to try and guarantee himself into the next round. He rolls off in fifth with Justin Erb in the number 20 in sixth. Seventh place goes to Eric Schaefer in the number 3 with Richard Swavely. Also a couple rough weeks for him. He's trying to do something from the 8th place position. Looking back at ninth, it's going to be the
How many laps do we get to use
the Chris Progar number 7 machine with Alex Muscarella, who's looking to try and get into that next round of the playoffs. And behind Alex Muscarella in 11th is Kip Easley, the very man he is racing for in that final points paying spot. 12th goes to James Kunkel in the 42. Lawson Peel, of course, not setting a lap time. He rolls off in 13th. Brandon Banks will be in 14th. Zachary Hall will be in 15th. Craig Parks rounds out your 8th row of the grid in 16th. Timothy Stubblefield, Casey Knighton, and Kevin Roy all rounding out your 19 car field here from Watkins Glen. So we'll get a little bit of an in-depth analysis here before we get going with our SK Sim Racing analysis brought to you by SK. We'll be going for our stages tonight, 15 laps and 15 laps, and followed by 40 laps to the checkered flag for a total run of 70 laps in tonight's event. And we'll see who makes it in and who makes it out of this first round of the playoffs. It is going to be Steven Stempian, Ross Harlow, going to be leading us to the green flag for the start of tonight's race. The pace car makes the turn onto pit road, and we're underway from Watkins Glen. A great start there for Ross Harlow. He's able to take the lead going into turn number 1. And it looks like Stempian's going to have to settle out for second. As there you see Warren Kyle Keith, Cedric Hunter were battling away for that position in third. And there's number 16 cruising away at the front of the field. No major incidents in turn 1. You love to see when that happens. And there they go into the bus stop chicane for the first time tonight. These cars, they've been updated very crucially. A week ago, they were given an update by iRacing, and they now race very differently. This is the first time that they'll challenge the road course with these updates, and they're a lot faster than what they were before. They were running low 110s in qualifying with high track temperatures, so it could mean for some potentially better racing here as we're getting around to complete the end of lap number 1. And it is Ross Harlow out in front of Steven Stempian and Warren Kyle Keith. And looking back a little bit deeper through the field, Alex Muscarella has done a good job of getting his way up into ninth. Talked about him in in that brief, very brief pre-race show. He needs these points. He is tied with Keep easily, and these stage points tonight could be very crucial as far as getting to the next race. You have a lock up there from Chris Progar, just behind the 48. There's Lawson Peel, and he's going to be a patient one tonight. Doesn't need to do anything out of this world to move on to the next round. He's just hoping to have a good solid run and just get those points and make sure that he is officially locked in. But you don't expect number 9 to miss out on the next round. He's just been that good throughout the regular season, through the postseason, getting those points. So he should be good to go. As long as and you expect him to make his way up through this field anyways. He's just so good at these road courses that he's going to be in contention for the race win before the night is over. Looks like further up in front, the top couple cars have not really spread out from one another, at least so far through this second lap of the race. Normally you see a bit of a gap forming between every single car all the way down through the running order and getting multiple seconds on each other. But through the end of lap 2, looks like all is good for everybody through the running order. No issues, which really good. You don't want to see anybody get into problems, but you know, at some point with road course racing, it's probably going to happen. So you're just going to hope that they do the best that they can to keep the cars under themselves. And these stage points are going to play a really big factor before the night is over. So just going to have to wait and see as we get a couple laps under our belt, as the rhythm gets built, who decides to go a little bit faster and try to push the edge. Right now it looks like they're all following a very similar pace. You see a little bit of a gap behind Herb from 6th back to Schaefer. And that all is part of the early race process. There's Alex Massarella, who we were talking about a little bit earlier. Now he's under fire from Lawson Peel. This is for 9th on the racetrack. If the 48 gets passed, he'll be down in 10th in the final stage points paying spot. And looks like Lawson Peel might be peeking to the inside, trying to make a move for the spot. And good under braking there is Peel. Looks to get the advantage on Muscarella, and he's got the spot. So looks like Peel is already locked in on those points. Is going to pull away now and drive away from Alex Muscarella and try to see if he can make up the gap to Richard Swavely. Not too far behind the 48 is Chris Progar, who's also below that cut line. He's only 3 points behind Easley and Muscarella going into this race. So this is another one of those drivers that needs a good run, needs to try and get these stage points. And considering that he's right now getting 0 in this first stage where he runs, it's a big opportunity if he can go up there and pass the 48 and get those points, especially considering that Kip Easley right now is a little bit further back in the 13th place spot, so he's not in position of getting those points either. There's the 8 just in front of Zachary Hall in the 23, who Hall is also locked into the next round virtue of points. So all is good. The driver, the 8, for right now, doesn't want to stay there for long. If he wants to move on to the next round, looks like Lawson Peel makes it move further up ahead on Richard Swavely, so that puts the 32 down one more spot. And Swavely is also in this battle to an extent as well. He's only 2 points clear of Easley and Muscarella in their battle, and they're all bunching up each other towards the same spot on the racetrack towards the back end of stage points. So this is going to be something we're following all night long, seeing who gets in and who gets out. We'll hope to get confirmation at the end of the show, at the end of the race, of who exactly gets in, with how tight the points are between how many. I think it's like 6, 7 drivers that are all with a realistic chance of either being in or out. We would definitely like to give that information passed along before we sign off here tonight. Still a long way to go, though. So we got at least another 70 laps in this race. Long time here around Watkins Glen. And there's the front of the field, who we haven't seen in a few laps, and they're still running, I would say, the same kind of pace. They're no one's really faster than the other. They're still very much content with what they're doing. No one's really trying to push the issue, do anything aggressive. And with that being said, they're just having a good time, just playing the patient game. And we'll see how long it takes. You see the gap to Herb and Harlow actually grew there over the last few laps. And now the top 5 are really the spots that have moved away from just about everywhere else. And there's Lawson Peel, who has closed the gap now on Eric Schaefer, his teammate, who's also in that cut line battle. He's on the negative side of the cut line battle. He's about 11 behind that tied battle that we were seeing. And he needs these points. He's the highest runner of those that are still trying to get in on those points. And I know he expects Lawson to get by him, but he certainly would hope that he can hang on at least for this stage. But the pace difference, Lawson Peel's just been picking them up and putting them down. You could expect him to get past Eric Schaefer on this next lap of the race, as we're beginning lap 8 now. Unable to get the ticker up on the top of the screen. I've been trying to adjust anything I can, but it's not showing up. I can assure you on my screen it is, but it's not on the broadcast. There's Peel now to the inside, and it gets pretty loose there on the inside. Schaefer's going to be able to hold on and clear for now. You see the sun peering through the racetrack. It looks like Stempien and Harlow have kind of pulled up a gap to everybody else behind them that were trailing them as they go into the bus stop. And Stempien, with a wiggle there in the middle of the bus stop, has to cut the exit a little bit more, and that's enough to give you a 1x for off track, and he loses about 4/10 there. And you see the gap visually grew to the 16, back to the 88. And he's lucky that that's what happens there. It could be a lot worse, especially with how violent the rumble curves can be on some of these race cars. It could upset you and get you to spin out, especially on that one on the exit of the bus stop. But he'll regroup and attempt to try and make another charge at the 16 here at the start of lap number 9. And Stempien's really gotten turn 1 down. Looks like that's where he's making most of his progress. But just around this part of the racetrack, the S's and the bus stop, that's where 16 has him beat. And Lawson Peel has not gotten past the 3 car. He is still behind Eric Schaefer right now, and this could be possibly by design. His lap times have dropped a little bit, certainly have aided the 3's efforts in trying to get at least those 4 stage points that he could grab at the end of lap 15. Peel, playing the teammate game here, knows that if he's able to have another one of these drivers that are in his favor, it could play a big hopes, and not just his own championship run, but he could also assess the 3 in his way of getting all the way to the Homestead Miami Speedway finale in August. So far, the 9 not looking to push the issue at all. And a little bit further back, you see a little bit of a bunching up there with Richard Swavely and Alex Muscarella and Chris Progar. All of these guys tight on those points, right at the cut line. Advantage between this trio goes to Muscarella. Oh, and the 23 of Zachary Hall goes hard into the outside wall there. You see the damage to the front end of his race car. And I think that was exactly what we were talking about earlier, is the issue of when you get loose in that part of the track and it overcorrects into the other side. And there you see, there's the 23. Let's go on board with Zachary Hall as he goes through these curbs. And there you see it right there. Just got upset over that left one. And fortunately, he was able to keep it straight, not get any more damage. But that's not going to be helpful to his race. And there you see him on the racetrack right now, last of the active runners. Well, excuse me, he's actually down in 15th out of the 17 that are currently out there on the racetrack. The good thing for Zachary Hall is he's still got a couple of stages left to go. He had a good run at Road America earlier in the season, so he can make a good recovery. That's going to be a big setback to him in his race. I guess the silver lining is that he is locked into the next round. So, but he's probably not thinking about that right now. Wants to get that damage repair done and move on to the next stint. And Stempien once again caught right up to the back bumper of the 16 to try and do battle for this race lead, as the stage has 4 laps in it. 4 laps to go in the stage, and they have about a 2.5 second gap back to third place Warren Kyle Keith. Lawson Peel has gotten past Eric Schaefer. He's now up to 7th. As there you see the battle for third, essentially, between these 3 cars of Warren Kyle Keith, Cedric Hunter, and Stephen Harlow. And it's been mostly like this, nose to tail. There's been really no serious pass attempts by any of these guys, though Harlow gets a good run out of the S's there. But it's just not really a great opportunity to make a pass, or at least try to send it in, as there's the 45 sideways through the grass, much like his teammate Zachary Hall a few laps ago. But it happened earlier, and he was able to hang on to that one there. And he stays in 4th for now. As there you see the gap out in front, closing even more so. Stempien all the way up to the back bumper of Ross Harlow. And we'll see how Stempien is when it comes to trying to be aggressive to race for this stage win here. Those playoff points could play a role in the next couple rounds, even though Stempien's already locked in. He knows that anything can happen in the next round, and he wants to make sure he has those points at the start of the round. That'll help him guarantee it. Lawson has that big advantage from all those race wins throughout the regular season, and basically has him multiple points clear of even 2nd place, let alone the cut line. So if Stempien can do that, then he'll very much take it, as they're side by side for 3rd. Warren Kyle Keith putting on a little bit of a squeeze there to Cedric Hunter, who was trying to take it around the outside of that little kink up the S's. And now Stephen Harlow will look to the outside going into the bus stop. He's going to lift off and give the 45 the space. Just not really a good opportunity to make the pass there. He tried to take advantage of the 78 hanging on to the spot, but just ran out of real estate. And he'll have to settle in once again, as now Lawson Peel's up to 6. You see him further back of this group. He's gotten past Justin Erb, who Erb right now is falling back to the clutches of Eric Schaefer on the top of your screen. As this looks like it's the most compelling battle there on the racetrack right now, but can't ignore down in P10, Richard Swavely, who got passed by Alex Muscarella. And now it's going to be Chris Progar behind the 32, attempting to see if he can get those stage points on the final laps of this stage, as there's 2 laps remaining. And pit road is now closed. I will say it is a bit of a shock that nobody, especially none of the leaders, considered flipping this stage. Maybe they're all going to stay out here and try to go to the end of the 2nd stage, though I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure how the fuel window works on that one, but most likely you could probably see a good bit of the field stay out. And that's the battle for P10 as Swavely has a bit of a moment going in. It could allow Progar. You see Swavely gets sideways there and Banks behind them jumping through the grass. And now here comes Progar to the outside. To the very outside he goes and has to lift off. He could try the crossover here, but he lost a lot of ground to Swavely off of the carousel. As we begin to start the final lap of stage 1 here. Swavely right now hanging on for P10 as best as he can here, as we'll work their way back around to the start-finish line at the end of this current lap and call it an end to stage number 1. And there's the gap between first and second. And here's the battle for third as Lawson Peel has tried, and I think actually Lawson Peel may have spun. There's the 9 car around, and there comes Richard Swavely. And he's going to lose out on stage points. Tried to go all the way to the inside and had to check up for the 9 car. And we'll see exactly what happened to Lawson Peel. I was just about to mention the fact that he was closing out on this battle, and I think possibly lost it on the exit with the curb, and there he goes, yep. Lost it on those curbs. And that happened during testing with the brand new car when they brought it to the racetrack and they were doing the testing. It's very much a lot easier to lose the car, and right now Lawson Peel's down in 11th. No damage to his race cars. He was able to hang on to it. And off of the final corner, it's going to be Ross Harlow winning stage number 1 from Watkins Glen ahead of Steven Stempion. Looks like Warren Kalkeith hangs on in that 3-car battle. Eric Schaefer will take away that 7th place position. Muscarello will take away 8th. Progar hangs on to 9th. Banks in 10th, and that's going to be big for those stage points as the caution flag waves. It's going to be big for those stage points. Those guys, all of them got stage points, and Kip Easley did not. Easley down in 16th. Not a good opening stage for the number 8. He's got a lot of work to do if he hopes to do something with the points to make it to the next round. Everybody he's bracing against was able to get points of some form or fashion, with the exception of Richard Swavely, who was on the plus side going in and is probably going to need some points in this next stage just to level himself, as now everybody does the job of catching up to the pace car. And we'll see if we'll take this opportunity to talk with our stage 1 winner of Ross Harlow. Try and get him into the booth here. And Ross, it was a good start from you there on the initial start of the race to take the lead away from Steven, and you're able to hang on to the race lead. Talk us through what it was like in those first couple laps, just kind of getting used to the car on the racetrack.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an experience. It's definitely not the we're not in Kansas anymore when it comes to this tire model. I think a lot of guys were just kind of taking it easy there, just kind of feeling out how the car was going to do in traffic. Yeah, you can practice on your own or with 1 or 2 other guys all you want, but yeah, until you get the big field out here, you never really know. But Stemp and I were both just planning on taking it easy there, really not getting too aggressive. Take care of the tires, because they will just, tear off if you give them half a chance. But yeah, no, it was fun. The car felt really planted, made a couple small mistakes, but held onto it and didn't cause any irreparable damage to the car at the very least. So that's all good news. But definitely learned plenty for the next couple of stages here.
And the tire wear, you talked about how it's not Kansas anymore. The tire wear here was basically non-existent, if you will. So what does it feel like right now in terms of tire wear?
It's a whole different ball game. Like you said, in the past there was no tire wear. We'd be able to do a 75 lap race on the same set, and we'd just get faster as the thing went on. But with the tire wear now, you got to be really, really cognizant about sliding your tires, sliding the nose, or letting the tail step out. And if you do, you got to be real cognizant of really aware of the fact that the tires are hot, because otherwise it's just you're going to go into the guardrail or into the dirt the next corner if you don't respect that the tires are hot and actually give them a chance to cool off. So it's a nice change of pace. It's a big step in the right direction. I've never driven one of these in real life, so I can't really speak to that. But actually having to take tires at a road course is always a good thing, I think.
Appreciate it, Ross. Congratulations on stage 1 win. We'll let you take care of pit road here.
Absolutely. Thanks, buddy.
And that is your stage 1 winner, Ross Harlow. Good insights there on what the new updates are like for the road course racing. We saw an oval race last week on Thursday at the SAT Cup Series at Charlotte, and we saw just how different it was racing on the ovals with these new changes. So everyone makes their way to the pit stall, and I agree with him in the sentiment that we now have this tire wear at road courses to contend with. As it looks like Warren Keith was rolling, and I think possibly an issue with the 78. He's definitely going to lose the track position, as there's everyone making their way off of pit road now.
Watson, to answer your question,
It's
it
like
does come
a
out in the restart zone.
possible
so
issue
should be good.
with the Warren Keith machine. He is now going to be down in 12th. We'll attempt to find what happened to the 78 that caused him to lose all these spots. Well, it looks like it was a case of him missing his stall here. As he's rolling down the front straightaway, there he goes. It looks like he sees it a little bit too late. Has to back up and takes it rather gingerly. It took him about a solid 2 seconds to back up, and then he had to go forward. So possibly a little bit too far to the right for Warren Keith. And he'll lose out that track position he had. He'll be down in 12th. At least to begin this next run. And interesting here, Kip easily stays out. And he's the only one to stay out. We talked about the 8 needing something to happen. I believe he had pitted under the green flag there. And he has. He pitted 5 laps ago on lap number 13. Currently working 18. So easily pitted before the stage. And he's the only driver to do so. And that gives him track position to work with. And this could be a huge roll of the dice for him and his playoff hopes after not getting stage points in stage number 1. We'll have a mega opportunity to try and do something with the best track position of all, the race lead. And there's the pace car taking a 1 to green. We going back racing on the following lap. And this could work one of 2 ways for Kip Beasley. It could really work out well, or it could go very, very wrong. And it all depends on how turn 1 goes. We've seen turn 1 restarts here in the past be chaotic. The race start was rather calm. Nothing crazy happened. But with this stage restart and the next one, I think it could be different. We'll just have to wait and see. And it's a shorter stage. We're going to the end of lap number 30. So it'll be about 11 laps under the green flag that these drivers will contend with before making the run to the checkered flag in the final stage. And this time Lawson Field will be in 8th, gained a couple positions on pit road after that spin at the start of the final lap of stage 1. He wasn't making the progress we normally expect Lawson to make. Normally he's there, even on road courses, super early just from pace difference, but his lap times, at least compared to most of the field, it is not as huge of a gap as we've seen in the past. Yeah, maybe in the second stage he can definitely get his way up into the top 5. By no means can you rule out the chance of Jaws showing up to the front and making a play for this race win. Not this early, you can't do that. And for the moment of truth, the pace car turns right on the pit road. The restart in the hands of Kip Easley. And he's going to wait it, and he actually The 16 goes first. Looks like the 8 was having issues getting up to speed. Stacks up the entire inside lane. And we could be in trouble. And there goes Stephen Harlow around. Makes contact with Warren Kyle Keith and sends the 11 around for a spin. And that is going to be... And there goes the 45. Cedric Hunter goes around going up the top of the hill. So it is all popping off here at the start of this second stage. As you see, they're having to take avoiding action to the 45. There's Kip Easley with Alex Muscarella trying to charge in for second. As there's Lawson Peel making the move on Steven Stempian. Stempian's going to fight this one. Peel goes through the grass. They're side by side there.
Look at the restart. I've got to stop and go for passing the leader.
And there is Easley falling back to third. Muscarella finds himself up into second. As there's Lawson Peel now, who's managed to get his way up into fourth. And Brandon Banks up into sixth. Yeah, what a restart. We got several things to unpack here.
I spun the tires, that's why I had to let off.
And it looks like the 16 is trying to discuss with race control on what to have happen as far as what to do. The 8 spun the tires. He was getting a pit penalty. As you see, someone went off in the back, and it is the 17 of Craig Parks. Craig Parks goes into turn 1. Looks like he might have some left front damage on his race car. Oh boy. There's several things to look at here. We have to go all the way back to the restart to exactly find the incident. There were several of them. So let's go first here. There's Kip Easley struggling to get going. And then further back, there's the 11 getting spun around. Trying to see if we get a different view. All started with that stack up. There's Banks going down the inside, and looks like just too many cars on the inside. Gets the tap from the 7 of Chris Progar, and that's what sends the 11 around. And then further up in front, we saw the 45 of Cedric Hunter go sideways. Looks like contact there with Kip Easley. There they go, they're side by side. Easley gets into the curbing and sends the 45 around. Insane stuff as Lawson Peel now finds himself at the front, or in second place. Kip Easley has managed to try to hang on to 7th for now. He's got Richard Swavely, Eric Schaefer, Chris Progar, all of those drivers behind him, all needing points. But Alex Muscarella has been able to get himself up into 3rd. Really good stuff by the 48 after not getting, or at least getting, I believe it was 9th in that opening stage, but has managed to drive himself up into 3rd now with the chaos of the restart and the good pit stop. If he can hang on to the solid position here, that would really help him in his cut line battle. As it's 2.5 seconds ahead to Ross Harlow. So you see Eric Schaefer further back, peeking to the inside, possibly 3 wide here with Kip Easley. Richard Swavely. Schaefer gets into the rumble strips there on the inside of the racetrack, but he stays side by side with Swavely. He gets into the curbing and slides up in front of Swavely for that position. Krogar moves up into 9th and easily loses all those spots down into 10th. That is not what the 8 car needed. If he's unable to get these stage points, that you're looking at a must-win for that 8 car. And we saw what staying out did for him. He spun those tires, and he is losing all this track position. So the speed is just not there for him as Schaefer goes straight through the grass. Could face a potential slowdown here. And Swavely could try and take advantage of that as there you see Warren Kyle Keith. For a brief moment, look to the inside of Kip Easley. He's going to tuck in and wait for an opportunity to get around this 8 car. We saw Keith get a piece of the action with Stephen Harlow. It resulted in some right front damage on that 78. As there's the side-by-side battle for 3rd. Muscarella on the outside. He'll give way to Steven Stempian, who gets back around him. And Brandon Banks, who's moved up into 5th, is now looking to see if he can make a charge onto 4th from Mascarella. Good job of moving his way through the field and running in this top 5 for Brandon Banks. And up front, it's Lawson Peel who's closing the gap on your race leader down to 1.5 seconds. On that last lap, Lawson Peel half a second quicker than Ross Harlow, and this is what was more so expected to see out of this 9 car. Quickly moving up to 2nd in this stage after restarting in 8th. Was fortunate enough to be in the line that didn't have the 8 car spinning its tires, and he has done a marvelous job with it. Up to 2nd, and he is closing in on the leader. Ross Harlow definitely hearing that Jaws theme, that ever so familiar song of seeing the Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet behind him. And they've done battle before. We've seen them go hand to hand at New Hampshire. Ross Harlow coming out on top in that one. But this time Harlow, we'll see how he defends here on the road course. It's difficult to make the pass here, but with the pace advantage that Lawson Peel is clearly showing, it could be a matter of when and not if. As it's now 1.2 seconds at going up towards the bus stop. Half a second again on that recent lap. Stempian has put a good gap of Mascarella, leaving him to the clutches of Brandon Banks and Justin Erb. Zachary Hall has done a good job recovering. He's up to 10th after spinning, exiting the bus stop chicane and nosing into the wall. He's gotten that damage repaired, and he's worked his way up into 10th. So good job by him. And there's Cedric Hunter, who went for the spin on the restart. Got no damage, and he is quickly trying to make work of Warren Kyle Keith here for 11th. Those two were battling for 3rd for most of that opening stage. There goes Hunter now, peeking to the inside, and he'll have that spot. Warren Kyle Keith with a little bit of the lockup. And there you see a little bit further back is Stephen Harlow, who went for the spin as well. Might have some damage to his race car. And Kip Easley has fallen back to 14th. You have to go back to Craig Parks, James Kunkel, and Kevin Roy, the last cars remaining behind this 8 car. And Stempian in no man's land now, as I believe we saw Warren Kyle Keith and Cedric Hunter going at it again. Warren Kyle Keith losing out. And now at the hands of Stephen Harlow in the battle for 11th. What a run to the outside, and he gets slammed into the wall. Stephen Harlow was trying to get the pass done on the left side. Warren Kyle Keith was not letting him rejoin, and the 11 car gets into the wall, and Warren Kyle Keith will hang on to the spot. We'll see if the 11 responds. Very aggressive stuff from Warren Kyle Keith, and Stephen Harlow, who has not had a good handful of races, goes into turn 1, putting in all that pressure on Warren Kyle Keith, but nothing doing there. There you see now Zachary Hall, as Justin Erb has big damage on his right front. His left front actually, his left front is severely torn off. Let's see if we can find what happened to the driver of the 20. I saw some kind of grass or smoke pop up, trying to catch one of those other battles, and it looks like it was right here. Gets on that curb, gets sideways, and was never able to save it. Gets into the guardrail, and right there, big hit to the outside wall in the final turn. Isn't able to get it to pit road, and he is continuing with that damage to his race car, still limping. But he's going to have to bring it down pit road. Or he might, and there's Cedric Hunter bringing it to the pit road. I think he tried to pit there, but Warren Kyle Keith was showing up to him and was definitely not what he needed to try and make that pass. And now he's holding up those two behind him. So it looks like Warren Kyle Keith will lose the spot out eventually to Stephen Harlow. Cedric Hunter still rolling down the lane. And he'll get into his pit stall now. We'll see if any other drivers attempt to do this in the hopes of gaining track position. The only ones left that can do it are your race leaders, and there's the battle between your top two. Harlow sideways out of the carousel. Lawson Peel goes very wide, but he tries to keep the momentum up as we're approaching 2 laps to go in stage number 2. Peel's drifting it through turn 6. And who pits is going to be a very good question. Neither one of them do. So this is going to be the fight for the stage win, ultimately. As Lawson Peel tries to figure out a way to get by the 16. He's going to have realistically about 2 or 3 places on this racetrack where he can make that pass. The only way he can really make a pass up here is if he gets too good of a run, and he's got a good one right here. Pulls up right to the back bumper, peeks to the outside. Unable to get there. Ross Harlow covered it off well, peeks to the inside. No move is going to be able to make there. And don't make a mistake on those curbs. Peel could try some crossover here on this carousel. Get right up to the back bumper, try to stack some air on that rear of the 16 and get him loose. But look how close that 9 car is, mounting all sorts of pressure on Harlow. All it could take is a peek to the inside or outside without actually having to make the move. And you see Peel wiggle. All it takes is one look. And there he is, right on the back bumper to start the final lap of this stage. Limited opportunities remaining for Lawson Peel to go out there and win this stage. He peeks to the inside, gets into the head of Ross Harlow, forces him to look in the mirror. Harlow sideways off of 1. And Peel now, with a great run building through the center of the S's, has a great run going up down to the bus stop. Peeks to the inside, won't take that one. Just look at how much more speed he's able to carry through that bus stop. It has to actually check up for the 16. Gets right up to him. Has a great run, but he gets sideways. What a save by Peel, but it's going to cost him the stage. And that's all it took, is one mistake out of one of those drivers to ultimately call it a stage. And through the final corner, Ross Harlow holds off Lawson Peel. And he'll sweep the stages here from Watkins Glen. Stempian takes away the 3rd spot. Alex Muscarella with a great stage 2 comes away in 4th, with Banks in 5th. Schaefer with another good one to come away in 6th. Swavely takes 7th. Zachary Hall with a great recovery in 8th. Progar in 9th. And Stephen Harlow, the last one of those drivers to get stage points. Kip Easley went all the way down to 12th. Justin Erb never eventually ended up pitting. He's still running around with the damage on his race car. He was limping it to the end of this stage, hoping that he can use this as the opportunity to fix it. There's clearly no required damage on the race car, surprisingly. He would have gotten black flagged and by iRacing itself and forced him to get down into pit road, so no meatball for the 20. But this is a big break for him now to try and repair this car. Fortunately for him, it's a long lap, so if it's multiple minutes, he'll have an opportunity to fix it. And we'll see how this works out for Cedric Hunter, who pitted about 3 or 4 laps ago before this stage ended. And he's the only one to try this strategy. He could potentially stay out here to take the race lead and get that track position. We saw what not having it did to him at the start of stage number 2. And now he's going to be in an excellent position to try this alternate strategy. They cannot go the whole of stage 3 on the singular tank of fuel, even those that stop at the stage. It's just over 40 laps. If I had to guess, you definitely have to make a pit stop, but you're probably about 5 to 10 laps short when you consider the full length of it, that is. as the front of the field has caught up to the pace car. We'll see if we can talk with the driver that was battling for the stage win, since we talked to Ross Harlow under the most recent stage finish. So we'll talk to Lawson after this one. And Lawson, this is Francisco in the booth. You got me?
Gotcha.
That was an awfully fun stage win battle to watch here up in the booth. What was it like from your seat?
It's edgy and sketchy, as you can see. I mean, I wrecked once over there on the bump or the rumble strip in turn 1, and then about did it again right there. That time I did it because I was just pushing really hard and just took it to the edge of grip. The dirty airs is pretty bad. I mean, especially when you're trying to keep pace and trying to gain on a car that's pretty equal to you. It just you just die lap after lap after lap in the dirty air. So it's certainly certainly tougher to deal with since the update, especially like going up to the S's and stuff. But yeah, I'm just not a fan of like how unstable these rumble strips are making the car now. I'm used to it not upsetting me so much.
And you talked about dirty air. Ross Harlow earlier, when we talked to him, was talking about tire wear. What is everything that you kind of learned with this car, with the updates as the first 2 stages have gotten underway?
Yes. Tires are certainly wearing more. I mean, my lefts were in the 60s there, and I'm the first stop, and I'm expecting something similar here. So, yeah, they're certainly going away.
Appreciate the time you take with us, Lawson. Good luck in this final stage.
Appreciate it.
Lawson Peel, driver of the number 9, has done a great job in this race of moving his way through the pack. Got up to second, was going for that stage win, ultimately with the spill, or the semi-spill, and he walks away second. He'll take the advantage over everybody else except for Ross Harlow, who wins the race off of pit road. But ultimately, none of these are going to be the race leader, as we've talked about it before the pit stops. It is Ross Harlow, Cedric Hunter, that stayed out after pitting before the caution flag. And I'm surprised more drivers did not do this overall in this race, but certainly after Kip Easley tried it. Didn't work out for Kip Easley, of course, because of the restart mishap. But certainly, Cedric Hunter has shown that he can put up some pretty decent pace in this race. Now he has the ultimate track position to work with. And we'll see what that does for the driver of the 45. We thank you for joining us here tonight on the KBueno Racing Network. And we'll take this opportunity to go side by side and come back when we're ready for the restart.
You wanted the best, you got them for a breast. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaws. Dirt Racing will be available September 27th. Pre-order your copy today.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Watkins Glen, where we're getting ready to start the final stage in the final race of the round of 16. Plenty of drivers still looking for an opportunity to move on into the next round of the playoffs. And of course, that ever-coveted race win is still in the balance. Cedric Hunter stayed out on this most recent caution flag. He'll take over the race lead from Ross Harlow, who sweeps the stages here tonight. He'll restart outside of the first row on the grid. Last time somebody tried this, it did not work out well for Kip Easley. So he is looking to try and not repeat history in that regard. As the pace car goes to pit road. And the green flag is out. And actually another good start for the 16. He's done a... I think they've been waiting for that green flag, and ultimately it's cost the leader both times. Ross Harlow gets a great jump from everybody. Lawson Peel looks to try and peek around the outside. Nothing doing there as he'll tuck in third. Single file through most of the front of the field. Looks like Peel might be getting a run. Cedric Hunter's also getting a run on Ross Harlow. He might peek to the inside here. Peel's looking to the outside of Hunter. And they all have to check up now. It looks like Swavely was looking for position further back. And all is good and clean in this final restart. So Chris Progar went for the spin in the carousel. That is going to be big for the driver of the 7, who needed good runs. He needed points to try and get in. And now he's going to be faced with a setback at the start of the final stage. We'll try and get a look at what occurred to the driver of the 7. And it looks like it just broke sideways on him. Almost got hit 2 or 3, 4 times. Wow. Surprised that nobody managed to hit him there. As it could have been easily some race-ending damage just by one of those drivers hitting him. He stays alive in this race and at least has an opportunity to do something with it, though he is last. Eric Schaefer is also now down in 16th. Not sure what happened to the 3 car to get him back here as well, because he was not there. So it is up to us. And it looks like the trouble ensues here for car number 3. Tries to make the pass on Alex Muscarella. Hard into the inside, hits the curb, and that upset the car, and around she goes. It looks like he probably had a little bit of a hit there as well. And he actually just went for a spin again. So Eric Schaefer's been having a bad stretch of laps here. He spins a second time, possibly with Chris Progar. So Progar goes into the chicane, tries to make the pass, makes the contact, and ultimately spins Schaefer out. Not a good moment there for Progar, as those two are now going to battle each other for 16th and 17th, multiple seconds off the lead. There's Stephen Harlow getting by Brandon Banks. Warren Kalkeith and Banks now battle for 8th. As there's Zachary Hall's recovery up to 6th. And he's done a great job in this race of getting back through the field after making a mistake on this upcoming portion of the racetrack. It's all him lose his track position, get big front end damage. And now he runs in 6th. He's locked into the next round, fortunately for himself, but he feels that he can deliver on these road courses with some good runs. Still can have one, though, as we're halfway through this very long race of 75 laps. You see Banks now with Swavely side by side for that spot. That's down in 9th, as it was Warren Keith that got by all of them. Keith now locks it up going into 6. Swavely now to the inside of Banks there. And they'll remain side by side down the front straightaway. And there goes Swavely by ultimately taking away that spot. And there's Justin Erb, who was able to get something fixed on that Home Depot number 20. Not ideal, but at least it looks a lot better than what it did previously. Looks like Lawson Peel down to 4th now after getting passed by the number 88 of Steven Stempion, who's back up into 3rd. Remember, Stempion, your pole sitter, started this race and got passed by Ross Harlow. Ross Harlow's restarted 2nd in every single restart and is led going into turn 1. So it's been a good day to restart 2nd. You never say that on the iRacing service, that you want to restart 2nd. But Ross Harlow has made the most of it, starting 2nd on all 3 starts and restarts tonight. And of course, for those of you who have been wondering all night, where is the man of the channel, Kenneth Bueno? He is on vacation. He is off somewhere in Europe at an undisclosed location having a great time. It is 3 a.m. right now, so he is definitely probably not watching this race right now. I was struggling to get a couple of things going on the broadcast side from my perspective. Have only done this one other time back at Bristol in the 4 Wide Series last September. So still getting used to the ropes of how to make everything work. Clearly the ticker's not on my side tonight. But I've tried my best with everything else, and hopefully it's good enough. Kenneth will be back in a couple of weeks. In the meantime, it'll be your other companion taking over the booth, trying to deliver these races, at least something, so you can watch back on and have recollection of what happened in this race instead of it being lost, just a lost race. Because we've had a good one here tonight. These guys have, no one has really been able to significantly pull away from the top spot, especially right now. These 4 cars are under a blanket, just putting in consistent laps on the low 111s. As Peel gets sideways there, going up the S's, he's going to lose a little bit of time here. You saw the car jump sideways on him as they were working their way into turn 1, or into turn 2 rather. Gets on the curb and gets sideways right there and does a good job at hanging on to it. And when I was driving during the practice session earlier in the week, that was a tricky spot now. Normally you can go through there and the car has plenty of grip. Not anymore. It does not have nearly as much grip, and it could step out on you without you realizing it, and Peel did a good job of hanging on to it before it ever went truly around. And Stempion's going to make his way on a pit road. If he's pitting now, that means that the fuel window is open, and no, he is pulling over. He is exiting this race. He is towing it. Steven Stempion, wow. What a move by the 88 to call it a night all of a sudden after running top 3 for most of the event. Unsure what happened there. But that's one contender of this race that is no longer here with us. He is locked into the next round by virtue of points. But he is now no longer going to be a factor for the race win here tonight. And that puts Lawson Peel back up into 3rd, though he has that gap to contend with. Muscarella moves up into 4th thanks to all that. Zachary Hall into the top 5. And there's that battle as Hall looks to the inside on Muscarella. That's going to be for 4th. And Stephen Harlow lurking as the 23 gets clear, Muscarella looks back to the inside. And Hall will have that spot. As now it's up to Stephen Harlow. As Muscarella gets loose on the curbs, Harlow's going to see if he can attack the 48 for 5th. And I was wondering if the pit window was open because I saw Stempien pit from 3rd. It very well could be. But still, just kind of thrown off as to the decision there. It was clearly a controlled exit. We hope all is going well with him. Hopefully it's nothing too serious. Swavely and Banks going at it again. Looks like they've been a part of the same piece of racetrack for the last 30 or so laps. And Kip Beasley, who's gotten back up into the top 10. It has not been an easy night for the 8 car. Probably is going to need some more help before the night is over with his hopes of getting into the next round. It has not been the day he's needed, and everybody that he is racing against has just done a great job of working and getting stage points, and they're now sitting all in great spots of moving into the next round. So it's just been a mix of two things for the 8's demise. He's got to hope for something to go his way over the next 32, 33. And Lawson Peel slowly closing the gap on your top 2. It was nearly a whole second faster than Cedric Hunter on that last lap. And you heard him talking with him that he doesn't like how easily they can lose control now as far as the unpredictability of it and where it's losing control specifically. These cars, you can glide them over the curbing. Now it's probably a little bit more difficult. You can certainly perhaps get away with doing it for qualifying, but if you do it lap after lap, it's going to at one point just jump away underneath from you. And we saw it happen a couple of times for the 9 already tonight in different spots on the racetrack. Let's go on board with Lawson and see how he attacks this 45. And all 3 of these guys are now bunched up once more. Nose to tail like Stempien and Cedric Hunter and Ross Harlow were before the 88's exit. Instead of 4, it's now 3. And Zachary Hall's making some decent progress as well. He's only about 4 seconds behind the race leader. He hopes to close in that gap. We saw him come up short at Road America, finishing 2nd in that one. So he's good at these road courses. He's been able to show up with some speed. If he can put together a solid final stage, he can close the gap up on the leaders as Harlow makes a mistake going into the bus stop. First time we see that all night, getting sideways, makes contact, goes around. What a save from Ross Harlow, as now Cedric Hunter takes away the race lead off of the mistake from the 16. Wow. And we saw that live as it was going on. The 16 goes into the corner, jumps those curbs, goes wide, jumps these curbs as he gets onto the grass and the contact. Excellent job of hanging on to that race car, but ultimately loses out. As there you see the fight for the top spot continues. This time though, Cedric Hunter now leads the race with Lawson Peel in second. And look how much Lawson Peel's able to close the gap through the S's, getting up right up to his back bumper, going down to the bus stop. Cedric Hunter had come up close many times for a race win this season. Finally captured it last week at Charlotte. He's not going to just hand this one to Lawson Peel. He's going to try and make him earn this one as Peel nearly gets to the left side of the 45. He'll peek to the inside, try to force the 45 into a mistake, who misses the apex. He'll hold driver's right, force Peel to try and go around the outside. The crossover attempt gets into the back bumper. And Cedric Hunter now playing the defense. With now 29 laps to go, Peel charges, or makes it look like he's going down the inside. Hunter goes in deep. But a great turn one with all that grip, and he's able to hang on. All the while, Zachary Hall continues to close in the gap, half a second quicker than all of your top three on that last lap. And lap traffic could be an issue before the night is over. Such is the spread of the field. They're not in danger of catching anyone now, as Peel does get to the left side finally with a great run off the carousel. Breaks later than the 45. Hunter tries to take it around the outside. Is forced onto the curb. Peel around the outside takes away the race lead. Lawson Peel for the first time tonight out front. And we'll see if Cedric Hunter can put up any charge back against the 9. Lawson has definitely looked like one of the fastest all night long. And now he has the track position to try and put distance between himself and his nearest competitors. Zachary Hall on that last lap was also quicker than everybody. He is trying his best to catch up to Ross Harlow. He sits at about 1.5 seconds behind the 16. As look at the gap that Lawson has now built on Hunter on just this lap. Whilst making that pass, got it out to nearly a quarter of a second on the 45. A great run for Lawson Peel, who, as usual, does not take time in qualifying. Likes to drive his way through the field, do some passing. And it took a while, even for his road course standards. But he got there on lap 48. And now he has the rest of this race to try and do something as far as building that gap, making that green flag pit stop, and executing from here to the checkered flag, which is still a long while from now. So you have to stay disciplined. A mistake can happen at any time. We've seen him make mistakes here tonight. But hopefully now, in not so much of a pressure situation, he can perhaps hang on better. And right there, you're able to just see the gap that they've put on the rest of the field. Stephen Harlow, 8 seconds off of Lawson Peel in 5th. And now Hunter and Ross Harlow are bunching back up together with Zachary Hall staying at a constant 3 seconds or so off of Peel's time. He's matching Lawson more than these two are, but they're all generally running similar lap times. That's why you're not really seeing too big of a gap being displayed. And Hunter, see just how aggressively went into the bus stop, hitting those curves, bottoming out the race car. He lost a lot of time on that first lap that he got past, but ever since then has not lost too much time, but he had a poor bus stop right there and cost himself a bit of time. Now 1.3 back. And not too many close battles on the racetrack outside of this. You have to all go all the way back to 11th. We have Chris Progar and Eric Schaefer, who have been glued together since the restart, where they both have been a part of their fair share of incidents together as well. And there's the crossover by Schaefer to the inside. Clears Progar through the center. And they'll move up to 11th. And now it's when Lawson Peel starts to put on a bit of a gap. It's not happening in traditional ways, but it's still occurring right now in real time. He is slowly starting to grow his lead. And all the while, Harlow and Hall closed the gap on Hunter. Last lap, the 4 cars leading this race all ran within half a tenth of each other. That is spectacular stuff. When you're all able to run just the exact same pace, or within the same realm at the very least, it definitely makes for some great racing, great opportunities. They've all had speed, but Lawson Peel waited, he bid his time, and eventually got by everybody. And now he's reaping the benefits of having the clean air. As now according up behind Cedric Hunter, Ross Harlow, Zachary Hall. Harlow with a great run through these S's, it must be said. He is closing back up to the 45. We'll see if he goes for an aggressive move. Doesn't appear so. It was a mistake on this part of the racetrack that allowed Cedric Hunter to get side by side with the 16, and Harlow went sideways and was able to save it excellently. And now he's got a great run here off the carousel. Gets the driver's left. The same move Lawson Peel made on Cedric Hunter right here. Ross Harlow's applying to him now. And Hunter fights back on the outside. Has the inside now for 7. And he's going to bring it down pit road. We know green flag pit stops are expected. We're going to see interesting stuff. Does anybody think that no tires is an option? We've heard that, and we know that tire wear is wearing more as far as the number itself, but the fall off in terms of actual lap time does not appear to represent it. Does someone go for the gamble? There's Hunter into the lane. The tires are going on. There's the left sides. Looks like somebody else also into the lane alongside him further back, and I'm not referring to Kevin Roy, as he is multiple laps down, but it is Richard Swavely who pits as well. And this appears to be right in the middle of the run, if you will, so they don't have to necessarily wait on fuel. There's the right sides. There's Kip Easley, who has to back up into his pit stall, and Swavely's up and away. Lawson Peel goes by the front straightaway. James Kunkel, lap car, brings his way on the front straightaway. Looks like Zachary Hall's in. Stephen Harlow in as well. Muscarella will stay out. let's see here how this all shapes out for your top running cars. Wherever Hall and them shake out to be, we'll have a good idea of where Cedric Hunter is. And there's James Kunkel lap car just in front of Zachary Hall. Cedric Hunter now going by the front straightaway is in front of Hall. We expected that, but not by much, even with the one lap better tires. How you get on and off pit road will play a factor in this race. And we'll see if Lawson Peel decides to break it down the lane. He now has 3 seconds on Ross Harlow, and there he is, the 9 car, bringing it down pit road. Ross Harlow will stay out. Looks like a little bit further back, Mascarello will stay out as well. And the gap we're going to be looking for is Cedric Hunter and Lawson Peel. There's Cedric Hunter on the racetrack. He is about to enter turn 6. Lawson Peel's already got the left sides up. He has one of those earlier stalls due to not setting a lap time. Right sides up on the 9. And he gets going, and there's Cedric Hunter exiting the final corner. It's going to be tight, but it looks like Lawson Peel should have the race lead. There's the 9 car now reaching the end of the time. There's Hunter now going through turn 1, and the race lead will stay at the hands of Lawson Peel. The gap between those two sitting right around 2 seconds. So great effort by Lawson Peel getting on and off pit road, even though the 45 had 2 laps of fresher tires. And we've officially reached 20 laps to go in this race. So Lawson Peel, great pit stop. Keeps the net race lead. Leading the race actively is the 16 of Ross Harlow, who does make his way onto pit road. Mascarello will stay out another lap in hopes of trying to actually lead a lap in this race. It was Harlow that led that one at the line. But this is what the 48 needed. He showed up to this race tied at the cut line against Kip Easley. And he was racing not just the Easley, but he was racing several others. Swavely, Progar, among others. All in the hopes of needing a good finish. And it turned around in stage 2, getting into the top 5, and ran inside the top 5 for most of this final stage up until this point. And it could be the run that gets him into the next round after struggling the entirety of this round. It has not been an easy round if your name is not Lawson Peel, Cedric Hunter, or Zachary Hall. Everybody seems to have had trouble in not just one, but at least 2 races. Or in all 3. But all it takes is one good run at the right time to deliver yourself a chance at the next round. Mascarello stays out for at least another lap with 18 to go. He has 16 seconds back to Lawson Peel, who's now running second on the racetrack. And the gap between teammates is closing. Cedric Hunter. There you see the gap back to Ross Harlow, who actually lost a good bit of time to these drivers. Doesn't appear to have been at the cause of a slow pit stop either. But that's just the difference between getting on and off pit road. And ultimately now, these two who finished, I believe, second and third back at Road America earlier in the season, are once again finding themselves in the exact same spot, exact same scenario. Getting deja vu vibes here. And there you see Hall with a great move around the outside as Hunter got loose. takes away the second place spot, or at least the third place spot. Gets sideways on his own right off of the final corner. Could invite Hunter to reattempt the move. But Cedric will stay behind Zachary as Zachary Hall shaking on the brakes going into turn 1, but he keeps the spot. And the gap to Peel is roughly 3.5 seconds as now Muscarella makes his pit stop with 17 to go. So this is now the official battle for second, and it's Zachary Hall who finished second at Road America. And we'll see what he's able to do up against Lawson Peel. We saw him for brief moments throughout the previous stint that he put up some faster lap times than Peel, albeit Peel was in traffic. But clearly the 23 has the potential to do something with this. The question is, can he go out there and try to close that gap? It's 3.5 seconds. And on that last lap, 2/10 quicker was Zachary Hall than Lawson Peel. He doesn't have to cut the gap immediately. It's not going to happen in 1 to 2 laps. He has to, if he wants to catch up to the 9 car, he has to slowly eat away at the gap 2-3 tenths at a time, which clearly he can do. Question is, can he actually execute it? It's not easy to go up against the top dog and win out. As Cedric Hunter makes a mistake there and the bus stop goes through the grass. Probably could experience a slowdown here. That gets the pressure off his teammate for now. Could invite Ross Harlow to try and close the gap in for the battle for the podium spot. And there's Peel, who's going to take 15 laps to go. 15 laps away from a potential 6th win on this season. His most recent of which coming at Daytona, the final race of the regular season. Before we move on to Texas Motor Speedway next week to start the round of 12 from the Lone Star State. And for those looking forward to the next round already, it is not necessarily a cookie cutter round either. You have to contend with the Texas Motor Speedway, Bristol Motor Speedway, and of course the ever famous Darlington Raceway with the Darlington stripe. Pretty difficult round, really, even with the Texas Motor Speedway. It's not an easy racetrack, especially with these updates. It'll be interesting to see. But that doesn't compare to Kansas, Talladega, and Atlanta. Specifically, the Echo Park Raceway. All that leading up to the championship at Homestead Miami Speedway on August 10th. And Lawson Peel, who experienced heartbreak in the 4-wide championship battle, getting involved in a crash on a restart on lap 19 of the race. Spent the rest of the race just trying to be on the lead lap. Never really was in an opportunity to contend for that championship after that incident. Is looking to try and at least salvage something in this series where he has been dominant all season long. If he can close off the championship and win it at Homestead, the site of that trouble, it'll at least be redemption. He'll hope to get the prize there next season when they show up to Auto Club in the season's end. He has to get through that season when it starts in August as well. But all he can do is put the focus on dropping the hammer and try to get off as many race wins and get himself that guaranteed spot to Homestead, and then worry about racing for the championship in that finale night. Take a little bit of a battle further on back. Cedric Hunter dropping back to the clutches of Ross Harlow. As there's the battle for third. Harlow within half a second now of the 45. Zachary Hall has not really made an impression on the gap to Lawson Field. Stayed right around 3.5 seconds. Some laps he's maintaining, others he's gained, and there was 1 or 2 laps specifically where it was huge chunks of time that Lawson Field was able to gain. So it's not been a consistent run on behalf of the 23 to try to close the gap to the race leader. As these 4 have been class of the field, you have to go 10 seconds back to 5th place runner Stephen Harlow, who after the early incident at the start of stage 2 has had a quiet night. But he is in no man's land right now. Nearly 10 or 9 seconds behind Ross Harlow, his brother, and 7 or so ahead of Muscarella. Some will take this opportunity when they're like this by themselves and relish it. Not have to worry about racing somebody. Sometimes it can get boring, but if you're Stephen Harlow, who needs the points, who needs the good run, a quiet top 5 could be more than enough to get him into the next round. So he'll take it. And just in front of him is lap car Eric Schaefer, running in 11th, hoping that even with the damage to his left front that he has enough points to get through. Muscarella certainly put up a good fight to try and get up there. It was mostly everybody that's ran well, with the exception of Kip Easley, who was down in 14th, 1 lap down, and Schaefer, who started on the negative side of that cut line. He got a lot of stage points that could give him the opportunity to do something with it, but when you consider Swavely, Progar, and Muscarella, the amount of points that they were able to accumulate, and where they're running on the racetrack right now, it could just be the finishing blow here for Eric Schaefer in these last couple laps if nothing insane happens to any of the drivers he's racing around that cut line with. As there you see now Harlow close up to Schaefer, who goes to the right side of the road. And Harlow now goes to the inside of the 3 car, trying to get around the lap car. And there's Harlow clearing the 3. So there's Alex Muscarella in the same situation. Closest battle on the racetrack right now is this battle for 3rd. Ross Harlow and Cedric Hunter. We'll see if Ross Harlow forces the 45 into a similar mistake he made from earlier and capitalizes, and we'll see what he can do as far as closing the gap down to 2nd place, Zachary Hall. And you could just hear the bumps off of turn 1 going through those rumble strips. How it could upset the race car so easily. And he's just struggling to close in the gap. That dirty air that Lawson Field talked about earlier could be playing a role. Not sure quite to what extent that dirty air is like. As there you see Zachary Hall make a mistake up front. There's a little bit of time to the race leader and gets closer to this bunch. This is nearly a second on this lap. As this could become a spicy battle for the 2nd spot eventually. Nine laps to go here from the Glen. Lawson Field looks to be in control to capture win number 6. If you want to watch some more racing here on the KBueno Racing Network, be sure to join us Thursday night for the SAC Cup Series from Sonoma for some more road racing action here And you could also, of course, join us next Sunday night from the Texas Motor Speedway to start the round of 12, the playoffs. And we'll be and the Thursday after that, on Thursday, I believe June 26th, we'll be at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway for the SAC Cup Series. Got a pretty interesting next couple of weeks. All, of course, which without man with the name of the channel, Mr. Kenneth Bueno. He'll be back, and he'll be joining us from Bristol on 4th of July weekend. That's the next time we should have Mr. Bueno back in the booth, calling races, doing the production, amazing production he's always able to have for all of us to enjoy and look back on with such disbelief of impressiveness. And I hope he looks at a race like this and reminds him of the quality that he does, the quality he's able to put out there, and what he is capable of. He has those moments where he's down on himself, as there's a move by the 16. Doesn't quite get there. He has his moments where he's pretty hard on himself, not happy with the performance that he had. And I'm usually there to remind him, hey man, you're one of the best out here. Many will share that sentiment of Mr. Kenneth Bueno. And we can't wait to have him soon, as there's Harlow, who dipped his right sides into the grass in an aggressive move to try and get by Cedric Hunter. And Hunter was able to hold on in this battle for third, all the while just losing a little bit of time to Lawson Peel. Zachary Hall on that lap a little bit quicker, but once again, it's just been in inconsistent moments where the 23 has been able to close in on your leader. There's Eric Schaefer, just makes his way off of the pit lane. He's now 2 laps down in 14th. And it goes from bad to worse for the 3 car. And he's got right front damage. Right front appears to be broken on the race car, and he just exited the pit lane. So that had to have just happened now. And he's getting dangerously close to some of these other cars with that damage, but nothing wrong there. We'll try to see if we can find if this damage happened here, where it actually occurred from, because he's here entering the pit lane and he's got the damage, but he was exiting the pit lane and he still has that same damage. So I'm not too sure where it might have come from, why it wasn't fixed, but he's still out there trying his best to make do with what he's got. It's not been a good one for Keep Beasley either, sits in 13th. See him around Chris Progar, who he's racing with in that cut line, but this is not a battle for position. Progar 1 lap down in 10th in the top 10. As there you saw Lawson Peel just go by them. 6 laps away from the race win. You have to look 4.5 seconds back to this guy right here, Zachary Hall. And there's the battle for third continuing between Cedric Hunter and Ross Harlow. This has been the battle to watch for most of the night, for most of this final stage. And what was originally the battle for the lead swapped around between the 16 and the 45, eventually became the battle for second, and eventually became the battle for third. But these guys have been quick all night long, have given us some great action. And it's going to come down to between these two in the final 5 to settle it out for the final spot on the podium. And these lap cars could play a role here as Easley stays high. It's going to kind of block off the exit for the 16. You can see there's about 3 or 4 of them there as they all closed the gap to Zachary Hall, who had a terrible lap that time. Over 1 second slower than everybody he was around. And that has brought him back to Cedric Hunter now in this battle for second place. And I believe that's Eric Schaefer that's going into the inside wall. Yes, it is. Saw him bouncing around trying to make a move. And that right front damage gets significantly worse for the 3 car. It was already a bad night, turns worse. There was the battle between the 7, and he goes in there, hits the curb, and that upsets the race cars. He was trying to not necessarily get into Kip Easley, teammate of his. And the 3 car with some more damage to his race car. We'll see if he continues to try and drive it around like this. I mean, that thing looks pretty beat. And he will. At this point, he's just hoping to complete the laps and hope it's enough. And this is the battle to watch. All the way through. It's Zachary Hall, Cedric Hunter, Ross Harlow. The battle for second place. Happening about nearly 6 seconds off of race leader Lawson Peel. And Hall, the last couple laps, clearly struggling. Probably used up the goodie in his tires. As looks like Harlow peeked around the outside for a moment. And we'll see what kind of move he's able to put on as we're approaching 3 laps to go in this race. You're able to see just how much more speed Cedric Hunter carries through that last corner. And it doesn't allow Harlow to make a move into turn 1. But they're all coordinating up behind. Oh, there's a bit of a mistake there by Ross Harlow on the brakes. That's going to cost him time. Could potentially cost him a spot here, a potential spot, as it's now between the teammates for second place here. And immediately Ross Harlow's caught back up to try and do something here. And with how big the gaps are, it wouldn't surprise me if someone made a move, an aggressive move that is, for one of these spots. Now 2 laps to go from Watkins Glen. There's the pressure from Cedric Hunter. Ross Harlow now might peek to the outside. He is there. Oh, but he gets off into the marbles, has no grip. He's going to lose time once again. Drifted up way too high. And he now sits nearly a second behind the duo who will attempt to do battle for the second place here. With just over 3 miles remaining. Five and a half seconds behind race leader Lawson Peel is the battle for second. Working their way through the final corner. Lawson Peel makes his way to the front straightaway. He takes the white flag. 1 more lap to go from Watkins Glen. And the battle for second still wages on between the teammates. Both of them locked into the next round. One by virtue of wins, another by virtue of points, as this is the closest battle on the racetrack for position. After Ross Harlow's mistake, that more than did enough to take him out of it. Through the back straightaway into the bus stop for the final time. A little bit of a straighter approach by Cedric Hunter. He's going to have just a handful of more opportunities in these last couple of corners. But up front, it's been a perfect race from Lawson Peel. Started at the back as usual, made his way through the field, took the lead away, and never looked back. Off of turn 7, onto the front straightaway, an automatic spot into the next round goes to Lawson Peel, who gets his 6th win of the season from Watkins Glen. And there's the finish. In the battle for second, Zachary Hall comes up short once again of the race win on a road course. Cedric Cutter takes away 3rd. And ultimately, Ross Harlow takes away the 4th spot. There's Stephen Harlow that takes away 6th. Alex Muscarella will walk away in 6th. There's Brandon Banks exiting the final corner for 7th place on his night. And then 32 of Richard Swavely hopes this is enough to get into the next round. Will round out his night in 8th. And the final car on the lead lap will be the 17 of Craig Parks, who will finish in 9th. And your top 10 rounder, Chris Progar in the number 7, will finish in 10th. There's your race winner, Lawson Peel, who drifts the car in the final set of corners as he's going to spin it out. Hopefully he doesn't beach it. And he'll celebrate right then and there, I guess. Your race winner, Lawson Peel. Looks like he will wait till the front straightaway. Happy as ever is the Mississippi native. Enjoying this winning moment. Of course, brought to you by Paul Setup Shop. As there's Lawson Peel now celebrating on the front straightaway into turn 1. Win number 6 on the season for driver number 9. And it was pretty contentious for the most part. Everybody was hanging on with him, but once he got into that clean air, you just knew he was going to walk away from it and come out victorious. There's a couple of his teammates, Brandon Banks and Craig Parks, coming up to congratulate their teammate on the race win. Lawson will continue celebrating here on the front straightaway, as we'll bring to you the race results here from the Watkins Glen Raceway. Finishing in first, of course, is Lawson Peel, as the ticker, of course, in classic format for tonight does not show up on the screen. Zachary Hall finished 2nd. Cedric Hunter will finish in the 3rd spot. Ross Harlow in 4th. Stephen Harlow 5th. Alex Muscarello finished 6th. Brandon Banks in 7th. Richard Swavely 8th. Craig Parks in 9th. Chris Progar rounds your top 10. In 11th is Justin Erb, with James Kunkel finishing in 12th. Kip Easley finishes 13th. Eric Schaefer in 14th. Steven Stempin exited the race, and he'll finish in 15th. Warren Keith, after his troubles, will finish in 16th. Kevin Roy in 17th. And the final two to not make a lap here tonight are Timothy Stubblefield, who is officially eliminated in this round of 16, and Casey Knighton in the number 28 in 19th spot. We'll get an opportunity to talk with our podium finishers here tonight. We'll, of course, first go to our race winner. And Lawson, as the Jaws team plays in the Discord, it was a typical Lawson Peel fashion race win here tonight. You took no qualifying time. You were patient. You got up there in the final stage, and as soon as you took the lead, there was no looking back. Just talk us through with that final stage and what it was like battling for the lead.
Yeah, I mean, I just had several moments there, as you guys saw, even after you interviewed me the first time. I mean, yeah, just like I said, just sketchy, and was taking me a while to get comfortable, especially on the cold tires, and you know, try to be patient there. Um, towards the beginning of the third stage, and Ross had a hiccup coming out of the bus stop one time, and just kind of gave us a free spot there, and then somehow able to roll to Cedric's outside there in the carousel and kind of make that stick on the exit. So I was surprised that worked. The clean air was huge, and then um, yeah, just I'm glad I got the laps to just kind of get comfortable, learn what's different, and figure out kind of what you need to be doing to not wreck around here. You saw how easy it is to get out of shape. So, but great race to the guys there. Yeah, Cedric, Ross, Zach, all of them had really good pace there. So yeah, enjoyed that, and good job to everybody.
Of course, this is win number 6 now on the season. You were guaranteed a spot in the next round on points. This will automatically solidify anyways. So as you move into this round of 12, what are you looking at in terms of these playoff races remaining in hopes of getting to the championship finale at Homestead?
Yeah, what do we got next? I'm gonna have to look at the schedule, but yeah, just kind of have to keep on doing what we're doing, and um, I think everywhere we go, it's gonna be like how different is it than it was. So I don't know if we're really gonna have much coming up that's not a surprise, so that makes it kind of interesting. Um, I haven't been running just a ton of laps and tests and stuff since in hosted sessions since the update came out. Just run a few things here and there, so I'm still kind of figuring it out, and will be interesting to see kind of what the racing's like going forward. I mean, I just know it's driving differently at a lot of these venues, so we'll see what we got.
Of course, to just so that you're able to know the next round. The next round will consist of Texas Motor Speedway next Sunday, followed by Bristol and Darlington.
Yeah, and the guys in the drivers meeting were talking about how bad the tires are going away at Texas, so that's gonna be interesting. So, um, yeah, they were talking about the right rear going away too, which I hate the sound of that. So, man, especially with the bumps and everything, that can be treacherous. And yeah, Darlington, that one coming up too. I bet that one's gonna be really tough to drive as well. So, yeah, just gonna have to kind of not have bad races like we did last week at Indy. Just kind of try to avoid that and just keep the consistent finishes rolling.
Of course, and before we let you go here, Lawson, anybody want to give the shout outs that helps makes this happen for you and your 9 team?
Yeah, thanks to you in the booth, Francisco, for broadcasting tonight. Thanks to everybody at KBueno Racing Network, and thanks to Stampian, Progar, Muscarella, Conkle, everybody that helps us out or runs the league here. Thanks to my DBR teammates, and everybody that watched tonight in Paul's setup shop.
Appreciate the time you take with us, Lawson. Congratulations on your 6th win of the season. We hope to see you out at Texas next week.
Appreciate it, Francisco. See you later.
That is Lawson Peel, winner from Watkins Glen for the 6th time this season. Sweeps the road courses at that. So add that to his list of accolades in season 1 of Droppin' the Hammah. We'll move on to second place here, which is the number 23 of Zachary Hall. And Zachary, I believe it was another runner-up finish earlier in the season at Road America. It's a runner-up finish here tonight. It didn't come without its fair share of troubles early on. We saw you sideways and get some nose damage. Talk us through what happened there and what it was like making that recovery drive up through the field.
Yeah, that was a blast. I thought I was done for on that wreck. I got a little too much of the curb. I was getting greedy and trying to carry a little too much speed, jump them curbs, and bottomed out, and it was straight left into the barrier. And I think the only reason I got lucky and didn't completely destroy it is because it was some tire barriers or the softer wall. So got lucky, hit the right wall, I guess you could say, and then from there it was kind of figuring things out. This is the first time really I've got a chance to drive on the road course with that new update, and it definitely I mean, I really liked it. I will say that much more because it really seemed to play a lot out more like the older style where even though we didn't really fall off, it felt like the car was starting to get a handful with how the tires were wearing out actually instead of, just staying on the same tires all race. So that was pretty fun to have that, and just didn't have enough. But I definitely am very happy because I feel like this is probably like my worst road course of them all when it comes to this next gen. So I'm definitely really happy with the performance tonight.
Well, you had a good run here going, and you were able to climb your way up through to second in that last stage. Did at any point you feel like you had anything to go for that race win, particularly when they were all nose to tail, first through fourth?
Yeah, I was thinking that was my opportunity. I was like 5 seconds back at that point, and kind of drove it within 3 there. And I was really, really good in a lot of portions of the track, but I just could not get through the S's. I've seen it every single time I go through there, like just losing multiple tenths. Even my teammate Cedric was like, "I don't know what you're doing through there, but it's just not working." So I was really struggling through there mostly, and I just felt like I couldn't carry the speed some guys could go through there. But my bus stop, my carousel, and really the last 2 corners of the track, I feel like I kind of would make that time back up on Lawson, and we would kind of break even. He was just really, really good. So I got to give him credit. I thought at one point maybe undercutting. I wish I would have came in maybe 2 laps earlier and just kind of undercut a little bit earlier, because I kind of got stuck behind Ross and Cedric there once I caught them. And maybe if I could have just jumped them fully without having to race any of them, and also got some lap traffic just with the way the timing of pit roads. It's just sometimes things don't play out perfectly, and didn't really gain anything from that undercut. So kind of wish I would have done it a little earlier. Maybe it would have worked out, but it's still very, very happy with how it played out. I'm lucky to even pull off second. Got a lot of damage with a lapper coming back on track there at the end. So she was not turning well with all that damage on the right front.
Yeah, it was a great recovery, Zachary. You were locked in on points before the night, and this obviously will solidify it even more so as we now shift focus into the next round of the playoffs, over starting at Texas and then Bristol and Darlington for this round of 12. So what are your goals, or what are you looking forward to in this next round in terms of your championship hopes?
The next round, I feel like, is really important to get playoff points, because it's, with the way they don't carry over from the regular season, which I didn't have it anyways. But if I can go get some of those playoff points, that would be huge, because that next round is just scary with Kansas, Talladega, and Atlanta. I mean, anything could happen in that round. So I need to get through this next round first. But I always want to look ahead a little bit too. So I definitely want to go into this next one saying, if I can get any playoff points, that'd be huge. And looking at the tracks, it's gonna be interesting with the new update. I'm kind of on the fence about how I'm handling it. I feel good. I like it. I definitely like how it feels. Much better, in my opinion, improved. But we'll just have to see how the intermediates work. I felt like some tracks might get better, some might get worse for me. So it's just going to be one of those ebbs and flows. But I definitely feel like of those 3, I'll probably circle Darlington, just because probably one of my better tracks on the service too. So I definitely have that one circled of the 3.
We'll hope to see you out there in the next round, Zachary. But before we let you go, anybody you want to give a shout out to that helps make this happen for you and your 23 team?
Yeah, first off, shout out to all you guys up at the booth. You guys do an amazing job each and every week. I can't wait to go back and watch how that all played out there. So that was amazing racing. So also shout out to Lawson on the win. That was a really well-driven job by him. He's always a class act when it comes to driving. So shout out to him. Shout out to all the league and the league sponsors. Everybody puts it on. And last but not least, shout out to my teammate Cedric at Category 5 Esports as we move to the next round.
I appreciate the kind words, Zachary. I'll let you know now. I wish I was a quarter of what Kenneth is. I hope you enjoy what I was able to deliver tonight. I was dealing with technical difficulties, but I did the best I could, and hopefully you and everybody else did enjoy it.
Hey, we love it. Anything you can put out there for us, man. You always do a great job, so thank you.
Appreciate it, Zachary, and we hope to see you out at Texas next week. Congratulations. That's Zachary Hall, runner-up here tonight from Watkins, Glen, finishing second in both road course races, and of course with his teammate right behind him in the number 45. We'll get a chance here to talk with Cedric Hunter, who finishes third here tonight. And Cedric, you were running up front for most of the night. You got into an incident there in stage 2 when you lost the track position, and that ultimately, I believe, is what decided that alternate strategy call at the end of stage 2 to pit before the caution, exit out, and stay out as the race leader. And just kind of talk us through if that was the case and what happened on that initial restart, which saw that the 16 took away the top spot.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much exactly it. Like, as soon as I lost all the track position, I was like, all right, well, I got to do whatever I can to get it back. And passing this track in particular is really hard. So that was obviously my best bet. Obviously, it was a kind of a disadvantage restarting there with older tires and everybody, but I felt like we stuck on it. We were stuck with it pretty good. I should have probably saved more tires on that restart. But I felt like if I could apply enough pressure, I was hoping that Ross was eventually going to make a mistake, and that was the case. And unfortunately, by that time, Lawson had saved the tires and was able to get by me like 2 laps later, and I just roasted my stuff. So, fun race. I think if if the restart zone was actually a thing on that final restart, then and I was able to actually keep the lead there. I don't know. Like, I don't know what would have happened, I guess, differently, but the clean air would have certainly helped. So it was a good race, though, all in all. I had a lot of fun tonight.
Did you feel that you could do something different or looking back on it and in hopes of trying to at least hold on to the track position a lot better? Or in that final run, anything you felt you could have done differently to hopes of closing the gap, or was it just too much for Lawson?
Yeah, I was probably, yeah, I'm not sure. I probably, again, could have backed up the pace, I guess, and saved like he did. Is just with passing being as hard as it is, I feel like you kind of either have to outsave somebody by a lot, um, or you just have to hope that they make a mistake, right? Like Ross had better tires than me in the entirety of the last run, and he couldn't. A couple times he got next to me, but he couldn't finalize the pass. So again, unless you have a huge tire advantage, there's the chance of you making a pass is slim to none. So I don't know if I could have done something different. I think that obviously he's really lost is really fast over horses, so he's probably the favorite coming into it. So I'm not upset that he won. Obviously finishing podium now for I guess the entirety so far of my playoffs has been pretty good, and hopefully we can keep that going into the next round.
It has been a great round for you, Cedric. Obviously, that win at Charlotte guaranteed you the spot into this next round, consisting of Texas, Bristol, and Darlington. So, as we now move into this round of 12, what are things that you're hoping to do, things that you're hoping to accomplish in this round to help you continue to advance in these playoffs?
Yeah, I guess just score as many points as I can. Hopefully, get a win and lock myself in. But I just want to get to that next round after that. Like I think this next round will have its own kind of set of challenges of being, a new update, a new car, if you will, and everything. So the car's going to drive completely different than what we're accustomed to. And I'm hoping I've done a couple of races here and there, and I feel like I've been kind of slow to adapt. So hopefully I have it figured out, come Texas next week, and then we can put ourselves, in a comfortable position, with 2 races to after that. So.
Thank you, Cedric. And before we let you go, anybody you want to give the shout outs to that helps makes this happen for you and your number 45 team?
Yeah, I want to give a huge shout out to everybody, first of all, that tunes in. I want to give you guys a shout out for doing the broadcast. I always love going back and rewatching your stuff. You guys are great. Huge shout out to Zach tonight with another second place finish. Thanks to the admins for setting it all up, and shout out to everybody that raced me tonight. The racing, obviously, well, it was super clean. Obviously, I got spun, but stuff happens. But yeah, the racing was honestly really, really clean. I felt like there was a couple times where I probably deserved almost the bumper, and I'm glad that obviously that didn't happen. So shout out to the guys out there tonight.
It was a great race to cover, a great race to be a part of, Cedric. Congratulations on the podium finish tonight, and we hope to see you out there next week at the Texas Motor Speedway.
I appreciate it, man. Have a good night.
And that is Cedric Hunter, third place finish here from tonight at Watkins Glen International. That rounds out our podium finish interviews, and we now will shift focus into the round of 12. The points have not been updated. And the Sim Racer Hub for the series does not have the playoff format, and it's not updated anyways. So we're unfortunately, at least in this current moment in time, unable to provide the actual points results, even verbally, as far as who makes it into the next round and who doesn't. We have a general idea of what it could be, but obviously I wouldn't want to make a word as far as who's in and who's out without knowing the actual proper information. So we'll wait, obviously, for the admins and everybody at the race control in the league to do those points and get them done, and hopefully soon enough we'll have something to share, and we'll be going into Texas knowing who is in the next round and who is not. We do know that Cedric Hunter, Lawson Peel, and Zachary Hall are all into the next round, even before entering tonight's race due to virtue of that win. So that won't be an issue whatsoever for them. Um, so we'll just have to wait and see what the league the league administration says about that as far as who gets in and who doesn't. So just final thoughts here from Watkins Glen. It was a really great racing all night long, it must be said. We had some fantastic battling all up and down the field, especially that battle for second and third for most of that final stage. We really got treated to excellent racing. And ultimately, Zachary Hall was able to come away with second. And Lawson Peel walks away with win number 6 on the season. Those new next gen updates clearly played a role here in the road courses, and the tire wear and all that sort of stuff is clearly showing to be a factor and is clearly playing a role getting into the drivers' heads as far as what to do, how to drive differently, and it's going to be no different at the Texas Motor Speedway. The first oval race in this series since those very updates, and it's going to be one to watch for sure, just seeing how the car reacts, how the drivers react, and how much of a different different discrepancy as far as the racing we get. We saw how different Charlotte was with the update and before the update, since this race in this series was before the update, and we got the SAC Cup series after it. Huge drastic difference between the two races, the two different driving styles that we saw. Texas Motor Speedway, I expect to be no different. So that'll do it here from myself here, Francisco Bacalao in the KBueno Racing Network. It was a good opportunity to come out here and put on the show, hopefully a lot better the next couple of times. I was dealing with technical difficulties most of the evening. I'll try to get those squared away by the time I get onto the show next time out on Thursday for the SAC Cup Series at Sonoma. More road course racing action from that one. You could tune in roughly at around a similar enough time, 9 p.m. Eastern should be the time we get going on that one Thursday night this week. And then join us next week on Tuesday or next Sunday for Texas Motor Speedway action to start the round of 12 here from the KBueno Racing Network and Droppin the Hammah Cup Series. It's Lawson Peel that took the race win here tonight for the 6th time this season, and he hopes to continue this championship effort as best as he can. Thank you for joining me from everybody here on the KBueno Racing Network. Charlie Byer, Keelan Belsha, Eli Comerford, the man himself, Kenneth Bueno, who's on vacation. I tried my best here from Francisco Bacalao in the booth here tonight. So long and have a good night. Lawson Peel wins at Watkins Glen.